Hello and welcome to another edition of the Rolling Illini. I am Josh Joins, joined as always by Avery Schaefer and Miles Hill. Welcome on this Easter weekend, as some of y'all are preparing to spend a lot of time with the family. That's very exciting. We're glad to have another edition. Guys, how are you this week?
I'm doing good, man. You know, been a long week, but I'm glad to end it, cap it off here.
Me too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The workload is ramping up a bit, but
Professor's trying to get to the end of the season or end of the year stuff, and so yeah, it's all catching up with us. But we have a marathon to recap. We left you last week, 2 days before the Boston Marathon was to begin. One of what is considered one of the hardest races of the year.
made even harder by the weather.
Yeah, the weather. And the weather was definitely a concern that we discussed last week. But talking to some of the people who did the marathon, including Jenna Fessmeyer, a U of I student, and G.A. Joey. Do you know Joey's last name?
Gibbs.
Gibbs, yeah. No, that's the wrong Joey. G.A. Joe, I don't know.
Yeah, G.A. Joe, the grad assistant that works with the team and was in Boston. The wheelchair, as they called it in Boston, the push run race was actually pretty well spared from the weather issues that were expected to come in later that day, which was a really, really good thing. But an even better thing, and we're going to start on the men's side of things, 20-year-old Daniel Romachuk, a U of I trainee, a Parkland student, wins the Boston Marathon, becoming the youngest push rim winner and also having the fastest American time, breaking the American time record, which is something that I said was not going to happen because of the weather. He ran away with it.
Yes, he surprised us all.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's really surprising with Daniel anymore.
Then again, we expect to be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel's just incredible. He is the future of the sport. We keep saying it over and over again, and then he just does new things. Right. He finished the marathon in 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 23 seconds, I believe.
That's absolutely not fathomable.
And what was interesting is as I was following along on the Boston Marathon website, and one of the interesting things is that he did not have a great start to the race. He struggled on the first downhill, which meant that American Aaron Pike, who went to the U of I, and Marcel Hoog, who we discussed in last week's, led the race to the beginning. And then Daniel's pack finally caught back up with them. And according to G.A. Joey, the 20-year-old just decided that he was going to take off with about 6 miles left. So the massive gap that he got was in the last 6 miles. It was insane. He just decides when he wants to take off, and then he wins. It's basically how it goes right now, which is something that not a lot of athletes can say in any sport.
That's crazy. I was just thinking about that in my head, how dominant Daniel is at this young age. That's unprecedented for any sport, man.
Especially with updraft, I believe that's the term.
Yeah, drafting.
Yeah.
And I think drafting was part of the reason why he stayed in the pack for so long, was he didn't want to exert himself all the way. But honestly, I feel like he could have got a much bigger sprint. I mean, I watched the ending of that race because I saw that Daniel was going to win. For the last 6 months, like I said, it was pretty obvious Daniel was going to win.
Yeah.
And just watching the full-out sprint he was in to the finish line was insane. The motorcycles were actually having to, move, where when you're following the runners, they're not really moving that fast. And so...
Yeah.
Really impressive race by him. He currently leads the Abbott World Marathon race, which is kind of a point system that ranks all of the world's racers. And in the push run division, Daniel is the leader by a lot. He got all of the 33 possible points that you can get at Boston, which is insane. And then there was an article on the News Gazette, a local newspaper here in Champaign, that was talking about how he immediately came home from Boston and bought a house.
Really?
So he bought a house, and then all the interview respects. He said Krieg, who is a racer out of Atlanta and who I know pretty well, he said that he got some advice from Creed that said that when you win the Boston Marathons, a lot of things change. And he was talking about all the interview requests he was getting this week from like the Today Show and Running World and all these different things.
I saw an article on Washington Post earlier.
You saw an article on Washington Post. So Daniel's life is forever changed. He is going to bring in that money that we talked about earlier in the year with Ryan Wilson on that show about the pay discrepancies. It's really insane to think how dominant he is. And like I can't even put into words. Like not even LeBron was as dominant as Daniel is at his sport.
This is like Tiger Woods' dominance right now. Like this, it's.
Is it though? I would think it's more.
Yeah,
there is no comparable athlete, disabled or not, that is doing what this guy is doing.
I agree.
And it's insane, and his work ethic and training is equally as insane. And then just like he's the most humble guy you'll ever talk to. Like he'll walk into a room with him and you'll be like, "Nice win," and he'll be like, "Thanks." That's like all you get out of like nothing else out of him.
Right.
One of the interesting things is like in the News Gazette article, like he responded with 2 words. Like he's a man of very few words, but just a beast on the both the track and the marathon circuit.
Yeah.
So on the women's side. Tatiana McFadden, our favorite to win, finished second, which was impressive because she flipped over on a railroad track at mile 6.
I heard.
She flipped out of her wheelchair. She said that she wanted to take it straight on, but her wheel ended up clipping the side of the railroad track. If you've ever been on a railroad track, you know there's a little divot. Her wheel got caught. She flipped over, got back up, and finished second, which is kind of insane and just shows how good of an athlete she is. Yeah. But Manuela Schar is the story of the Boston Marathon on the women's division push rim side. She's the reigning series champion and failed to finish in the freezing conditions of 2018. So she didn't finish the Boston Marathon in 2018, according to Abbott, which is kind of insane. But she won by 7 minutes.
Which is an eternity.
Yeah, that's legit.
Just dumb amount. Like that's like a NASCAR being lapped like 3 times. That's like the first place guy lapped the second place guy 3 times.
That's like what Katie Ledecky did to the rest of the Olympics in 2016. That's just
and one of the things that I think we didn't talk about a lot is what Manuela Schar is so good at is downhill racing, and that's kind of what you started the Boston Marathon. So she stole a really large advantage in the downhill section. It was clear of the rest of the pack long before the uphills could give them a chance to eat into her lead, according to the Abbott World Marathon Majors website. And so Manuela is just dominating. Yeah. I think she's taken over Tatiana as the most dominant women's racer in the world right now, which is something that a couple years ago I would not have said.
I would never say,
Bold claim.
Yeah.
Bold claim.
I think Tatiana's just had to deal with some health stuff, so her training is a little bit behind and she's catching back up. But it'll be interesting to see if, with the increased training after the medical issues, if she can keep up with Manuela, because Manuela is just killing the women's game right now. It's absolutely insane. And she achieved also the maximum amount of points possible in the series because she led the race from the first part to the end. Never gave up the lead. Wow. So she is the sole leader by a lot in the women's division of the Abbott World Marathon Racing. And so that's kind of your Boston Marathon report. After this break and after we tell you our sponsors, we're going to come back and we're going to give you a preview of the London Marathon, which is on next Sunday. So not Easter Sunday, but the Sunday after. All right, now is the time that we let you know that the Rolling Illini and the Illini Drive, which runs Monday through Thursday, is brought to you by the Division of Intercollegiate Athletics at the University of Illinois. There are a lot of sports that you can get out and go watch. Softball, I went out and watched. Baseball, I feel like some of the guys are going out to a baseball game on Sunday. Yeah. So that will be very, very exciting. They're selling beer now at the baseball games, which one of my friends is very, very excited about. So get out, support your Illini. They are very, very good at baseball. The softball team. What other sports am I missing? Golf?
Sorry. Apologize. Yeah.
Gymnastics.
Oh, gymnastics. If you guys want to see some really, really good gymnastics, the NCAA men's gymnastics tournaments are going on at Huff Hall this weekend. So, or not Huff Hall, sorry, the State Farm Center. Even
I
better.
will be there.
You will be there?
Yes.
You see
Tomorrow?
our friend Avery.
So if you want to come say hi, get a few autographs, pictures with me, I'm happy to chat with you guys.
Yeah, he would love to take pictures with you guys, I'm sure. But get your tickets at fightingillini.com for all Fighting Illini events. You can also find the schedule for all Fighting Illini athletics. My goal by the time I get out of here is to see all of the DIA sports that this university has to offer. We're still working hard on that. It's just slowly chipping away at that piece of artwork. But go to fightingillini.com to see the schedules, buy tickets. You can also go straight to the State Farm Center to see the NCAA championships. Remember that the University of Illinois, we inspire, achieve. That's what we do here at the University of Illinois.
Amen.
And we will be right back after this quick break. So stay with us here on Rolling Illini on WPGU 107.1. Hello and welcome back to the Rolling Illini on a very windy afternoon here in Champaign. We're in the basement of the YMCA at WPGU 107.1 studios. We're so glad you can join us. I'm Josh joined by Miles Hill and Avery Schaefer. We just, in the last little section, went over the review of the Boston Marathon. But it is marathon season because the weather is so nice outside. And the next race in the Abbott Marathon is next weekend, next Sunday. All of the best wheelchair racers in the world will be in London for the London Marathon. And so any thoughts about how that's going to go, Avery?
Well, obviously, across the pond, dare I say it, rain is going to be a factor.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we don't really know the weather yet, which is kind of tough.
But I'm kind of guessing that it's gonna rain. I mean, it's London.
Yeah, what's really interesting about all these different marathons is that, like, the racers are really friendly with each other off of the course because, like, it's all of the same people going to all the same races. So Daniel Romachuk will be there, Marcel Hug will be there,
Right.
Aaron Pike will be there.
Yeah.
And then on the women's side, it's Tatiana, Manuela, Shar.
Right.
Now, does that camaraderie off the competitive surface, for lack of a better term, influence the atmosphere on that competitive stage at all?
Nah, I would say no.
I don't think so.
And it's solely because they are professionals in the truest sense of the word professionals.
Yeah.
They know that, I mean, this is their job. Their job is to go out and to win marathons for a lot of them. And so even though Tatiana and Manuela may be friends, or Tatiana and Susanna Scaroni, who are both students here, are friends, when they get on the course, their job is to finish as best they can.
Right. Yep.
And so, I mean, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about is winning.
Yep.
And so that's kind of that. So the push rim division of the London Marathon will take off at 9 a.m. local time. Not quite sure what that is. Chicago time.
It's very early.
It's very, very early. I will probably
9 a.m. London time?
yeah.
That's 6 hours ahead of us.
Oh wow.
Granted, we're not in daylight savings time, which we're not anymore.
We are not in daylight savings anymore.
So that is,
Ooh.
by my quick math here, check me guys because I'm not good at math, 5 p.m.?
Yep.
6 hours difference? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. 5 p.m. Local time.
Good work.
Watch the Rolling Illini. Watch the Rolling Illini go to it across the pond.
Absolutely. So that's going to be a very great race. I would assume this is not the race where Manuela Schar's great run ends. I think she's going to win it again. That's my guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's not a bad take. I agree with you on that. 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
7 whole minutes.
Yeah, and she's insane. She's a 30-year-old, so she's a little bit younger than Tatiana is. Really at the top of her game and kind of hit the peak of it all, which is very, very impressive on that front. On the men's side, I could see Daniel winning it again. I mean, he's proven that there's no reason why we can't
say that. Win it again.
Yeah.
Daniel is like the Yukon of college wheelchair track. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's insane. I would expect him to win, but Marcel Hoog is also someone that you can't
just count out.
And then Aaron Pike and some of the other ones. But Daniel is definitely the one to beat. It's his race to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
All right, well, that's kind of that. We'll let Avery give you a recap of that on next Friday's show. This is a good time to point out that next Friday, the Rolling Illini will not be on WPGU 107.1. So I will be out of town, heading home for internship. So there will be nobody to run the board, and that'd be very sad.
That'd be a tough scene.
So we'd just be talking to ourselves. So if you want to catch up on the show, there's going to be go to Facebook Live. So find us on Facebook at Rolling Illini. Hit the like button. It's really easy. It's really cute. And then next Friday at our normal time, Avery will be live on our Facebook talking about this week's events in Paralympic sports.
Yes, I will. And I will be introducing a new face.
Ooh.
My roommate, Zane Banda.
Yeah, Zane has been on the show on the thing a couple times, right?
Yes, a couple times in here, but I don't think he's actually ever been live with me. So
yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. He's also our social media director, so shout out to him.
Shout out, Zane.
Some of our interviews, he's done some great social media work and encouraging. So that'll be exciting for him to be on the live, and there will be a lot to talk about. So make sure to tune into that on our Facebook page. That's Rolling Illini on Facebook to see Avery. We'll also post a link to the Facebook page on Twitter. Okay, so that's that. But because we're not going to be here next week, this is the last show in April, I believe.
Yes.
So April is Disability Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. Because of that, and because the Illinois wheelchair basketball season's over, we do a lot of demonstrations for different organizations showing wheelchair basketball and adapted athletics. Our athletic director, Maureen Gilbert, asked us to do it. We obliged because they're some of the most fun events we do all year, in my opinion.
You can't say no to Mo.
Plus, you can't say no to Mo. But Miles, you did too. This is why you weren't here last week.
Yes.
Was because you were at the first one. So tell me about that demo.
That demo was a lot of fun. We do these things just kind of playing wheelchair basketball with either other groups, or sometimes we play amongst each other to show it off at demos and stuff like these things. But this past week, I was at, I do not know the name of this
Waseca.
town. Waseca?
Well, I think it's Waseca.
Waseca. I hope I did not mispronounce Waseca.
If you mispronounced it, it's my fault.
But, yeah, we were at a high school there, and we played a couple games against, well, it wasn't a couple games. It was one whole game, but they kept switching the teams up throughout the quarters. We played against community colleges women's basketball team.
Waseca Community College.
Waseca Community.
Were they any good?
Community colleges. No, not really.
No, not really.
No, they weren't really good.
Now, we're not saying they weren't good at able-bodied basketball. They were playing wheelchair basketball.
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you that. They were playing wheelchair basketball with us, not to slander the community college of Waseca. It's probably a grand women's program down there. But no, wheelchair basketball skill was not strong.
Well, and I think it's harder for able-bodied basketball players specifically to get used to wheelchair basketball because they're so used to using their legs to shoot.
Yeah.
And so they're pushing off for the leg
and then there's
getting nothing out of it.
Nothing at all. Yeah, so then we played against some firefighters and some...
So I did this one last year. That's why I know all the names of these things.
Okay.
That was probably the most fun I ever had played basketball.
It was
playing
fun.
against the firefighters.
We had one lineup where it was me, Abby, Marley, Doggo, and Kevin. And that, for those of you listening, is a combined 9 points on the court.
Yeah, so Marley's a 1-0 on our women's team. Doggo's a 1-0.
Yep. Kev's a 1-0.
Kevin's a 1-0.
I think Abby's a 3-0, right? She's
a 3-0.
And then I'm a 3-0. So a combined 9 points on the court against these firefighters. And they had us wearing the the helmets and the gloves. And let me tell you, this is some of the hardest stuff I've ever done in my life. I've never tried to shoot so.
Have you ever tried to look up in a helmet to shoot? It almost snaps your neck.
Man, you missed it, Josh. Man, I had this one play, and I went into the lane, and I did this head fake. And since I have the bun, for those of you that are watching on TV, you can see. But for those on the radio, I wear my hair in a bun, and it sticks up. I had the helmet on top, so it wasn't really tight. And I hit him with a head fake, and the helmet just fell over my face as I was going into like 3 defenders, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" All I heard was I just hit something, and I flipped it up, and then like shot and made it. It was just
You made it.
yeah, but it was kind of a cheese make. Okay, I can see it the last second. Like I took the helmet up and looked up, and I was already like under the rim. It was just an ugly play in general, but man, it was a lot of fun to play with those guys and bring awareness to the sport.
Yeah, and the firefighters are great. They want you
really
to take pictures with them. It's really cool to play with the first responders with them last year. Yeah. And then, you look ridiculous playing in a firefighter helmet and gloves, but it's a lot of fun, and that's kind of what it's all about. A lot of these are fundraisers for different organizations, which then takes us to Saturday's demo, where we were raising money for the independent living community in Bloomington for people with different types of disabilities. We were playing different teachers from the school district in Bloomington. But what was really funny was when we first got there was Bloomington is home of Illinois State University. Yeah. Which means they're obviously our rivals to start out with. And so we walk in there at the Illinois wheelchair basketball team, and there's a big red bird just sitting there, like just being super friendly. And I'm like, I want to one-on-one this bird. I want to 1v1 this bird. It was the Illinois State mascot. But it was cool. He was there.
Yeah. But that was a fun one as well.
For clarification here, we're talking about a person in a bird costume.
Yeah, no, I don't want a 1v1 versus a bird. They can fly up to the basket.
Yeah. We are not talking about a actual bird.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then there were a couple of people, young kids with disabilities over there.
Yeah.
So I think my boy Liam was his name. Yeah. First of all, Liam was incredibly cute. He'd only had his wheelchair for like 3 weeks, and he was really, really fun. But right before we all went up to talk to him, the bird just made him cry. Because, like, the bird when you're that little is scary.
It is. I agree. It's a little bit intimidating. I don't know about scary, but intimidating.
The little man gave us a high five and then, watched us. And so we played ourselves first. That was kind of ugly. Yeah, but then we played teachers in the school district. I started hitting transition threes.
Yeah, let me get a shout out to Josh here. 70% on transition threes. That's better than Steph Curry. All right. Now, understand that we were playing and we would get the ball off a rebound and all 5 of us would clear half court before anybody else had cleared like the 3-point line. So it made sense. Like it just became ugly to take a layup after a while because you just steal the ball and take a layup and then you got to wait for somebody to come all the way down the court to come grab the ball and come all the way back just for us to steal it. And Josh took it into his own hands. Just pull up transition 3.
7 for 10.
7 for 10. I give him credit. It was crazy, man. But
yeah, it was a lot of fun and for people who've listened to the show week in and week out, we've talked about my love for Chick-fil-A. And after the demonstration, we went to the Chick-fil-A in Bloomington, and I ate myself a chicken sandwich.
Oh man,
it was so good.
I had my 12-count.
I have never had Chick-fil-A in my life.
You haven't lived.
You know what that is? That's a cardinal
blasphemy?
sin. That's a cardinal sin. You can't not have Chick-fil-A. That's unacceptable.
There's one coming to Prospect Street very, very soon.
Okay.
I'm very excited about that.
I will be there.
I'm going to have to.
Yes.
Actually, if you really want to meet Miles Hill and I, figure out the date of the grand opening of the Chick-fil-A, and you will find us there.
At the front of the line.
Yeah, at the front of the line.
You'll find us at the front of the line.
We will also sign autographs, take pictures, and gladly take your money for food.
I second that statement. I second that one.
But yeah, it was a good time. There was a teacher named Chad who our Gabe, who was on the show last week, had some fun with. Really, really fun group. We had to take a picture with Liam afterwards, and Liam's mom posted something really nice on Facebook about how the Illinois players went out of their way to really interact with the guys, and that's what it's all about. It's about community outreach and making the community more aware of it, but also introducing kids with disabilities very young into the sport. And so we hope that when Liam gets a little bit older, he'll start playing wheelchair basketball, and maybe for the class of like 2040. He'll be in
I don't know when he'll be here. What?
We'll be right back here on the Rolling Illini on WPGU 107.1, so stick with us. Hello and welcome back to the Rolling Illini. I am Joshua joined by Avery Schaefer and Miles Hill here on WPGU 107.1. It is Friday afternoon. We got about 15 minutes left in the show, so we've got one last thing we want to talk about. A couple days ago, an article came out on the business of video content broadcasting plus cable, and it's talking about the sponsorship for the Olympics and Paralympics after 2020. So the sponsorships are all set up for the 2020 Tokyo Paralympics and Olympics because those are less than 500 days away now. We reached the 500-day countdown mark last week. And so as NBC Universal, as we all know, NBC covers the Olympics and the Paralympics, is working towards 2021 to LA 2028. They have decided that they're going to offer sponsorship packages that will link brands with the Olympic and the Paralympic Games from 2021 to 2028. The sales team is being built by NBCU and LA 2028 Committee with the help of the U.S. Olympic Committee that will begin presenting opportunities for brands to associate themselves with 4 sets of games, ending with LA in 2028. It's the first time the Summer Olympics have been in the U.S. in 32 years since they were in my hometown of Atlanta in 1996.
I believe it was was it Athens, Georgia?
It was in Atlanta, Georgia, but some of the things did go in Athens. So
Okay.
Soccer was in Athens. Actually, big thing at UGA's football stadium is the hedges, and there was a big outcry because they had to cut down the hedges to make room for a soccer field. Had to not go over well, but anyway, it's a big deal that it's coming back to America. The packages will include media sponsorship and activation opportunities that will be able to reach hundreds of millions of viewers between the Olympics and the Paralympics. And it gives a single point of entry to participate in all aspects of the movements with rights to intellectual property, marketing, and the local stuff. And then Linda Yacuro, chair of ad sales and client partnership at NBCU, was quoted as saying, "Nothing brings people together like the pure emotional power of the Olympic Games. This partnership between NBC Universal and LA 2028 is a true first for the industry and gives marketers the opportunity to make an unrivaled economic and cultural impact. Together, we're building what's never been available before, the chance to be an exclusive partner of a monumental global movement for the next decade, culminating with the first Summer Games in the U.S. in more than 3 decades. And it includes the 2028 Olympic Games in LA and Team USA's participation in the Olympics and Paralympic Games at Beijing in 2022, so it's going back to Beijing, Paris 2024, and the 2026 Games, which have not been awarded to a host city yet, which is interesting. That's the Winter Olympics, so two-way.
Yeah.
But what I really want to talk about and what I think is important for this show is the fact that this is going to bring a lot of sponsorship opportunities for the Paralympics that have not been there before, bring an influx of money by kind of connecting itself marketing-wise to the to the Olympics.
Yeah.
You got anything on that?
I just think it's a big thing alongside with just the viewership of the Paralympics in general. It is a huge event on our scale as adapted athletes. When you look at it, it's a huge event. But on the grander scheme of public kind of notice of the Paralympics, it's a big thing. It's a small thing, and it's a big thing that most people are either not aware of it or seem not to watch it. But the sponsorship opportunities that are going to be tied in with the Olympics, because anybody would want to sponsor the Olympics. It's the Olympics, everybody's going to watch it. And with that being alongside or being tied in with Paralympics is going to bring a lot of opportunities for the Paralympics to grow into a even bigger scale than where it is now. So I think it's definitely going to be an interesting setup over the next few Olympics and Paralympics, and hopefully we'll see.
It is also the most recent example of what I want journalism to do. And this is a personal opinion, but I came to the show in the hope of doing exactly what NBC did, and that is using sports to talk about other more, I guess I'd go with the word touchy issues. And I think this does a very good job of that.
Yeah.
I think it also brings up, going back to what Miles said, I think it brings up an interesting thing of like the difference between how the Paralympics is covered in the United States versus where the Paralympics are covered elsewhere.
Yeah.
And places in Western Europe, specifically like after the London 2012 games, the Paralympics are on all the time in those countries on Channel 4 in England.
Right.
It is constantly on. And in the U.S., you're lucky if the big sports like wheelchair basketball are live.
Right.
And then everything else you're getting 12 to 15 hours after they happened.
Really? I would have thought it would have been the other way around.
No, that's how it is. It's really interesting, and it's kind of sad that we're that far behind. Because even like Australia is very known for their coverage of the Paralympics.
Yeah, it's really interesting to look at the international, just the way the international scene accepts adapted athletics in general. And it's interesting, like you say, that it's on channels that are like low number channels. We all understand this as like anybody who's used cable before. Those early channels are like local channels. Those are channels that you're going to be able to that anybody can watch. These are like it's like
CBS,
you don't have
NBC,
cable,
ABC.
you still watch this. And here in the United States, I'm having a struggle with like I'm talking cable with extra packages, and I'm struggling to find these. And then, like you said, they're not live either. It's interesting, but with this kind of grouping of it, it'll be interesting to see how viewership, sponsorship. It'll be interesting to see how it kind of all pans out.
And the other really interesting thing is like last year was the 2018 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games. I was in the hospital in the ER with my friend, and we were watching the Olympics, and it was like the most random sport. I don't even remember what sport it was, but it was on live, and it was like 11 o'clock, but it was on live.
Wow.
And then the Paralympics comes around a month later, and the men's gold medal match was on NBC Sports Network, and I'm pretty sure it was delayed. I can't confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it was delayed. But the fact that like this random sport was on NBC, in the Olympics, and then probably the premier medal match of the Paralympics was on NBC Sports Network, which is really hard to find. Was really kind of sad.
Yeah, and it is what it is. There's an understanding to an extent. It's the same problem they have with NBA, WNBA type thing. It's you can't force people to watch. That's the whole point of the entertainment industry. It's what you want to see. But to an extent, there could be more of an effort put into making it. To providing
more because you're more likely to watch a game on ABC than you are NBC the Ocho.
ESPN the Ocho. Right, yeah.
It's just not going to happen here. And so exposure is a major thing, and the WNBA is going through the same problem. Is that their games are on ESPN2 or just really random channels.
Right.
And so it's really weird that the WNBA and women's sports are having the same kind of issues as adapted athletics are having in the United States. And I'm really interested to see if packaging deals like what NBC Universal is trying to do forces NBC to put more Paralympic content live and on NBC.
Forces?
Yeah, through like the need to show the advertisements and get their numbers.
Is that the word though? Can you force someone to watch anything?
Oh, no. What he's saying is it gonna make NBC? Is it gonna force this deal? Gonna force NBC to broadcast Paralympic games to make those advertising numbers that they're trying to make?
Okay.
And then number two is that exposure going to increase numbers enough to justify it through future ones. Through future deals. And it's going to be a major test for the Paralympics. It's going to be a major test for all the sports, and it's really interesting. And it's also going to be really interesting that the first Paralympics of this deal is going to be the 2022 Paralympics, which is a winter Paralympics. Which is, quite frankly, if we're being honest, less watched than the Summer Olympics. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a rocky start that gets off to. Also, will streaming play a big deal in it?
Yeah.
But I mean, as somebody who follows this a lot, like cable cutting is a major issue right now, and so
Yeah.
is there going to be more live streaming of Paralympic stuff
Yeah.
on the NBC app and
Website
platforms?
or
And so
whatever,
it's going to be really interesting to watch, and that's something that we're going to keep a close eye here on the Rolling Line in the next couple of years is how people kind of view the sport and also how to get viewership numbers up is something I'm really interested in
Yep.
and to explore on the show.
Most definitely. I agree that
Awesome.
the viewership is the start of it. Like we all play to play. Wheelchair basketball is like, we love wheelchair basketball just because it's wheelchair basketball. But we want to put that out there for other people to enjoy as well as we do. So I definitely think that the viewership is gonna be interesting to see how this plan works out. Like
So-
you said with cable cutting as well.
So that's something we'll keep a close eye on. We've got about 2 minutes here. So Avery, just real quick, you told us some news before we went on air. Tell the people what you'll be doing this summer.
I just secured an internship with ESPN to shadow some people over there.
In which departments?
Mostly the Sports Center anchor department
Nice.
and the film editing department where they do the 30 for 30s.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Ooh, I'm jealous.
If any of you are not into those, they are really good.
Yeah.
Particularly the one on the University of Miami.
Oh, wow.
That's a personal favorite of mine.
My personal favorite, I have to say,
The one on broke athletes.
Fab Five.
Ooh,
Five's a
Fat
great
Five's
one.
good.
Broke athletes is important too.
Yeah. So, Avery, we're super excited for you. That's a great opportunity, and it really brings up a point here about WPGU and about Illini Media is that its job is to cultivate future leaders and participants and getting jobs in these industries. Avery is long on that road, and so we're very excited for him. Can't wait to hear about
Congrats,
those
man.
stories we get back. So congrats, Avery.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right. So as we said, to wrap up the show, next week we will not be on air. But if you're going to miss us too much, remember Wednesday nights on UPTV at 9:30 p.m. you will see our show.
9 p.m. I think
It's 9 p.m. 9 p.m. on UPTV.
good see
You can listen to the show again and then see our pretty faces. And as Miles points the camera. Also, as always, a huge thank to Andrew Scalera for coming in and filming us every week. We're on UPTV every week at 9 p.m.
Yes, sir.
We will be off air next week, but we will have a Facebook Live, so find us on Facebook. Avery will be leaving that up.
Yes.
Boy.
We hope you have an incredible Easter weekend if you celebrate the Easter. If not, we hope you have an incredible weekend. We will be back sooner than you know it. This has been Rolling Illini on WPGU 107.1. Avery, take us out.
For the last time in April, keep it rolling.